So, I kind of want to talk about what it takes for someone to allow themselves to be vulnerable in this day and age. At least because I don't know. I don't know what it takes. Honestly. You see, let me give you a little context. Actually, no. Let's give you what happened first, and then we'll break it down a little bit. All right, so I'm sitting down and I'm watching Love and Hip Hop Family Reunion. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the show, but I'm watching it with my wife. You know, we're enjoying it. We like that kind of stuff. And there's two characters, Erica Mena and Safari, who are going through a divorce. And it's a painful divorce. It's emotional. You know, they're reconciling. They're breaking up. There's things that are happening. It's emotional. You know. And Safari, he gets vulnerable for a moment, and he starts talking about how, you know, he just doesn't want to lose her, and he doesn't want to be without his kids. And I don't know why, but somehow or another, it kind of struck me in a way, because I was kind of, you know, my wife was asking questions and taking her perspective, and I was giving my perspective on, you know, emotional trauma and all this other stuff, and how it's hard to forgive, or it's hard to see the other person's view when you feel attacked, and so it's hard to empathize and this and that. And we were having this whole conversation, and in a moment I kind of cracked, and the bottle that you know, the cap on the emotions that I normally have in place got loose a little bit. And when it did, my voice cracked, and I kind of, you know, doubled over a little bit, and, you know, I wept. You know, I wept for a few moments. You know, I wept. And, you know, after just a few moments, and it was real, I was weeping. I kind of shoved all those emotions back deep down inside, and I twisted the bottle cap tight again, and I wiped my eyes, and I wiped my eyes, and I wiped my eyes, and I exhaled. I was like, I'm good. I'm all right. But it was surprising and shocking, that wave of emotion that came over me. And so my daughter was on the couch, and she wanted to know what happened. And, you know, my wife was trying to explain where that pain came from, but she wasn't sure if it was okay to get into the details. And so she asked me if it was okay. And, you know, I said, yeah, you know what? I'll tell her, you know, I'll tell her why. And so I told her, you know, when I was 4, you know, my mom and dad split, and I didn't meet my dad really until I was 23. And so for 20 years or so, I was trying to figure out, you know, how I'm supposed to be, this and that. And my mom didn't want me to see my dad. And so by the time I met my dad, I was already formed into an adult male. And when I met him, I understood how much I lacked, because the whole time growing up, I was looking for that father, and I didn't have him. And so I told her that, you know, watching them go through it like that, it harkens back to when I was 4 years old, what my parents were going through, and how ugly that breakup was. And then thinking about the trauma that followed, how damaging it was. And so it all kind of hit me at one time. And that bottle cap came off, and the emotions came out, and then I had to bring them all back down and cover it, you know what I mean? And it's weird, because I was thinking about it, and it's like, I guess growing up where I grew up, how I grew up, you couldn't be vulnerable. You weren't allowed to be vulnerable, because if you did, you were soft, you know, and you had to be hard. You know, when you're on the streets, you got to be hard. Because if you're not hard, somebody's going to try you. You know what I mean? And so you constantly have to have this rough and gruff exterior, and it trains you to not be vulnerable. And I just wonder how many other men grew up having to go through that circumstance and go through that emotional trauma as a child and as a young man to become adults, and to have that guard up where you cannot allow yourself to be emotional. I just wonder if that's got to be so common. Like, I got to look up the statistics on that. But yeah, I just wonder, like, how do you tap into the vulnerability to allow yourself to drain out that bottle of emotions when it starts to get too tight because it's overfilling. You know what I mean? You gotta let it go. You gotta let it out. And we're constantly told that it's okay to cry, and even though I know it's okay to cry, for some reason, man, when I start to well up and I get into that state, it doesn't feel like it's okay to cry, and I fight to bottle it back in, and I know that's not healthy. But I wonder if I'm alone in that thinking. You know, it boggles the mind. But anyway, I wanted to record something and talk to you guys tonight, and that was something that was kind of on my mind as I was driving to work. I kind of thought about that moment with my wife, because it was a beautiful moment, and after, you know, I did feel relief, you know, because it sometimes it gets tight, you know what I mean? You gotta let it go. But anyway, let's talk to each other, you know what I mean? And let's support each other. You never know what somebody's going through, right? All right. Anyway, my name's Eric, and thanks for checking me out. Peace.